Hi, my name is Sadina Pinhasek, and I would like to personally thank all of you for coming tonight to help Likrat Kallah in this most beautiful mitzvah of Hachnasas Kallah. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Gemach, Likrat Kallah. As you can see, we give these items to the Kallahs. We give 6 household items for free. We give a pot, a pan, silverware, dishes, food containers, stainless steel bowls, towels, and of course a vast array of gifts that people just drop by my house, and we're able to give those to the Kallahs as well. Giving these things to the Kallahs in Israel, these poor Kallahs, is so important because there is no shower concept like there is in America. So no one makes a party for these girls beforehand, and no one gives them gifts to begin their household. And when they're able to get these things to set up their household, it is such joy for them. Baruch Hashem, our Gemach is run solely by our family. I'm proud to say that my children are involved, my husband, myself, and really what that makes the Gemach is 100% tzedakah. So when a person gives money to the Gemach, he's really giving his money directly to Hachnasas Kallah. So I'd like to tell you the reason I started this Gemach. It was about 8 years ago when my oldest was 18, and I said to myself, I don't really know how this shidduch process works in Israel. I better go to a shiur to find out just how it works. And I sought out and found a shiur in Yerushalayim, given by the Neve Yerushalayim Seminary, and a few Rebbitzin spoke, but really one Rebbitzin said something that really hit home and really touched my heart. She said, ladies, at the end of the day, if you want Hashem to be helping you with your Kallahs, you have to help Hashem with his Kallahs. Well, right then and there, I knew that I needed all of the heavenly help that I could get. So I started to think if I had really ever done this precious mitzvah of Hachnasas Kallah. Maybe I had written a check one time. Maybe someone had knocked on my door and I had given them money. I really wasn't sure. But then I had the idea that everybody has something in their house, some new gift that they once upon a time got that they don't need. And I said, why don't they give me those gifts? And I'll give them to the Kallahs who need them. And that really was the spark that led to the birth of Likrat Kallah. So Baruch Hashem, over the last 7 years, we have grown and we have been zocha. We have merited to help 1,568 Kallahs. And tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem, another 35 Kallahs will come to our house to receive their household items. So I want to tell you a little bit about the Kallahs that we help. Baruch Hashem, we help Kallahs from every and all walk of life. The important criteria is really that they come from a family that needs help. And we are talking about Kallahs who are sometimes orphaned. We have many Gerim, many converts. We have Bali Tshuva, whose parents are not willing to support the couple. Oftentimes we have families where someone in the family, Shalom Neda, has fallen ill, and all the savings, all the financial savings have really gone to help that person, and there really is no money left in the family. Just a few weeks ago, a woman called me up. She was helping another woman, and she told me such a heart-wrenching story. She told me about a woman who unfortunately, her and her husband had suffered the loss of 3 children, Shalom Nida, and the husband was not functionable anymore, and he really needed to be put into a hospital to help him cope. And this poor woman was left with a family to raise and to take care of, and her daughter to marry off. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what kind of families are coming to Likrat Kallah for help. Okay, some of the criteria that we check about the families and the form that they fill out is the cost of the wedding, the cost of the hall, and we're really talking about the very, very basics. Like the cost of the wedding is as minimal as can be. Let me just give you another example of a Kallah that we helped. She came on the Kallah day and she received her items, and she chose an item off of the table that we don't usually have. She chose a food processor. Food processors are a little bit too expensive for us to purchase in the gemach, but luckily someone had donated one. And as she was leaving, my husband, who happened to be home that day, saw that she appeared to have tears in her eyes, and he approached her and said, "Oh, if you're not happy, you can change your items. We can work around it and find a solution for you." And she said to my husband, it's just that she never thought she would own such an item, and she was so excited and really taken back by how lucky she was that day. Just to let you know how the process works, anyone who calls my house gets a message that tells you that if you're interested in getting help from the gemach, you need to send a stamped, self-addressed envelope to us, which they do, and we send them back a form, and then the form comes back to us. Baruch Hashem, about every month to a month and a half, we get ourselves organized and we invite 35 to 40 Kallahs to our home, and it's a lot of preparation, it's a lot of phone calls, and then it's bringing out all these items and setting it up and ordering everything. And then Baruch Hashem, they come to our house at 10-minute intervals, and girls from the local high school help me. And it's a really exciting day to see these Kallahs coming in one after the other, leaving with their packages, so happy, so excited that they can envision their Bayit Ne'aman B'Yisrael. So with the money that we receive through donations, Baruch Hashem, we're able to order the items that the Kallahs pre-order on their form. This is what the form looks like. And here they have a spot where they check off the items that they want. They check off 5 items. And again, those range from the pots, the pans, the silverware, dishes, etc. And then the 6th item, as I mentioned before, comes from the items, the gifts that people give us and that they had in their house that they don't need, or sometimes they purchase especially for us. So I want to tell you some stories that are just amazing. Here in Israel, if you see an item that's unattended, we'd call it a suspicious object, a chafetz chashud, and you have to be concerned and call in the police, and they check it out. But oftentimes when I come home from school, I work as a teacher, I find a box in front of my house, and I already know that not to consider it a chafetz chashud, a suspicious object. Baruch Hashem, people in this area, the Beit Shemesh and Ramat Beit Shemesh area, know me, and they are used to just dropping things off in front of my house, items that they have in the house that they don't need. And one time, really, I came home and there were these 2 gigantic, almost massive boxes. And we schlepped them into the house, and we opened them up, and we were just so surprised and excited to see that the boxes were filled with silver items and crystal items. It turns out I did a little bit of research and found out that it was a woman who had recently made Aliyah from England, and she had gotten all these gifts for her engagement, and she said she doesn't need that much. And she so generously donated it to the gemach. I cannot explain to you the happiness on the face of the chasadim and the Kallahs who came to get their gifts and were so delighted to see that they were going home with the silver candlesticks or silver Havdalah sets, things that they never imagined in their life that they would have. Okay, I'm going to sidetrack for just a minute. While we were filming this, we suddenly heard the phone ring, and our initial reaction was, oh no, the phone's not supposed to ring while we're filming this. But we decided to let that phone ringing stay into the film because we want to tell you the story behind that phone call. The woman on the line had just called me from Yerushalayim, and she asked me if she could host a party in 2 weeks from now with her friends in Har Nof. So we decided to include that so we could show you just how the gemach works. Just like this party, Baruch Hashem, we're going to merit another party in another 2 weeks to keep helping the Kallahs. Okay, I'd also like to speak to you about the special school load in this mitzvah of Hachnasas Kallah, which I just started to learn about as I kept doing the gemach. But in general, I'd like to tell you a special skula about giving tzedakah. When Bnei Israel is told that they need to build the Mishkan, each Jew is expected to bring a machatzit shekel, a half shekel. Now the Gaon Vilna explains that in the word machatzit, meaning half shekel, we see a beautiful explanation of the importance of giving tzedakah. The Gaon Vilna explains that the tzaddik in the middle of the word is representative of tzedakah. If a person busies himself with tzedakah and he gives charity and he's trying to help other people in this world, look what surrounds him. And Tav, the chet and the yud, is furthered away from him. And look what is furthered away Hashem from him. Tzedakah so much that if a person is busy with it, he surrounds them with life, chai. Now if a person would, chas v'shalom, opt not to do tzedakah, and he would take the tzaddik out of his life, he would be left with the letters mem, chet, yud, tav. If we rearrange those letters, and this is according to the Gaon Vilna, if we were to rearrange those letters, we would come out with the word chamati. Chamati means my anger, denoting HaKadosh Baruch Hu's anger. And the Vilna Gaon explains to us, look what happens to the letters. Suddenly, the mem and the tav have been brought together. And the chet and the yud, which signify life, are furthered away from each other. So that's just a beautiful skula in general for giving tzedakah. But I would like to talk to you specifically about the skulot of Hachnasas Kallah. Of course, the skula that I mentioned in the beginning in the area of shidduchim. If you help Hashem's Kallahs, Hashem Be'ezrat Hashem will help you with your Kallahs. And here in Likrat Kallah, we have been zoche, we have merited to hear many beautiful stories of women who started to get involved in the gemach, who started to help Hashem's Kallahs, and who came back with stories that things started to move on the shidduchim scene for their children, sometimes even for themselves. We had one mother whose daughter was already 36 years old, and she said, I'm going to bring you a gift every time I go back to America. She would buy some electrical items at the Kallah shop, that's the duty-free shop here in Israel, and 6 months later she called me up to tell me her daughter was a Kallah. The other segula is in the area of a refuah shlema, a speedy recovery. And we see that in our morning tefillot prayer of Elu Dvarim Shadam Ochel Protem Ba'olam Hazeh V'Keren Kayemet Le'olam Haba. These are the things, the mitzvot, that a person does in this world for which he receives reward, yet the principal awaits him in the world to come. The principal award awaits him in the world to come. And the prayer lists many beautiful mitzvot. The last three mitzvot that are listed are Bikur Cholim, visiting the sick, Hachnasat Kallah, helping a needy Kallah, and Levayat Hamet, accompanying a deceased person. Now, the order seems a little bit strange. Why would the mitzvah of Hachnasas Kallah, which is such a happy mitzvah, be placed smack between two mitzvot that seem much heavier, Bikur Cholim and Levayat Hamet? And it was the Stipler Gaon Zecher Tzadik Livracha that gave the explanation. Rav Kreisworth from Belgium had fallen ill with the Machala, Shalonida, and he asked the Stipler how he could get out of it. And the Stipler told him that he should do the mitzvah of Hachnasas Kallah. And the Stipler explained that the reason the mitzvah of Hachnasas Kallah is placed between these two mitzvot of Bikur Cholim and Levayat Hamet is that the mitzvah of Hachnasat Kallah actually has the power to be a buffer between the two. And Baruch Hashem, here in Likrat Kallah, we've also merited seeing this wonderful, wonderful skula. There was a woman in Ramat Beit Shemesh who decided to hold a party with her shul for the Kallahs. It was a magnificent party. They brought in many, many gifts. And after the party, she revealed to me the reason she was so intent on doing this party. She explained that her husband, he works in America, and his boss has a daughter who was very ill, and she had been on a waiting list to receive a liver transplant for a very long time. and the family had heard nothing, and their hopes were diminishing. And the father had actually decided that he would donate part of his liver in the hopes to helping her. It was a dangerous operation for him, and the chances were not tremendously high that it would be successful for her. And the woman told me that from the time she started to plan this party till the party came into fruition, the family who lived in New York received a phone call. The girl was flown down quickly to Florida, where the liver awaited her. Baruch Hashem, she had the operation. It was very successful, and you can't ignore that it was somehow possibly connected to this party for the Kallahs. We have another story. A woman here in Ramat Beit Shemesh who helps the Gemach tremendously told me a story that happened to her about 20 years ago. She went for an ultrasound, and she saw on the technician's face that something wasn't so good. And the technician explained to her that the normal number for her baby's health would be 5 in some area. And the number that she was reading was 7.